Hello, my lovely Slumber Party listeners. It's your host, Tim Murray, and today I have an old friend from New York City on the. I don't know. I don't know why I just got Southern when I said New York City,
I'm from the
but
South.
oh, that's right. This guest is from the South. First clue, they're from the South. So start taking notes at home, trying to figure out who it is. Second clue, I don't know if you've ever heard of Broadway, but they played Elder McKinley in the Book of Mormon on Broadway. She's also a Drama Desk nominated actress, and I don't know if you've heard of the Antoinette Perry Tony Awards, but a Tony nominated actress for the role of Damien in Mean Girls, the musical, and their probably favorite and most important role to date as Mimi I'm First in Untucked the musical on YouTube. Please welcome to the stage, Gray Henson.
Oh, hi. Thank you for having me. That truly is my favorite credit. So I'm so glad you included it.
That was one of the most fun things I've ever done, I will say.
I know. Every time I rewatch that season, I think of me.
That's isn't there there's nothing better than watching TV and then thinking of yourself watching it.
hmm
Have you rewatched season 3?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I do this thing. I mean, speaking of slumber, I do this thing like right before I go to sleep. I just turn on Drag Race as sort of like white noise machine. And I just work my way from like one to, current and then start over again. So I'm never like really actively watching, but it's always present in my life.
It's just it's the perfect thing to have on. It it makes me feel like I'm being wrapped in a warm gay blanket of
Really,
queerness.
it seriously is comforting though, which I guess says a lot about our community.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I we were watching an Avengers movie last night. Thank you so much. And I was like, this is good and everything, but it's just so odd to like watch as much Drag Race as I watch and then turn on something where you're like, wow, there's just like really nobody gay in this at all.
I mean, that's questionable, but yeah, I know what you mean. So my roommate and I, well, Josh, Josh, we love Josh.
Josh Daniel,
Yeah,
hello.
he loves like an action straight film franchise. And so we've like watched all of the Marvel, we did all of Star Wars, we did the Lord of the Rings, which I had like the ones that really don't hook me are the Lord of the Rings for various reasons. But I Marvel seems kind of gay. Obviously, Star Wars is kind of gay because of like uh, I don't know, it's kind of campy, right? Star Wars feels campy to me, whereas
I
Lord of the
agree.
Rings is not at all.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings definitely takes itself very seriously. I like Lord of the Rings because I like kind of like the ethereal, like flowiness of it. Of like, oh, I think hiking is kind of gay, and they do a
True,
lot of hiking.
true. And
But
hobbits art could be gay.
hobbits are, yeah, it's like bears, otters, hobbits, elves.
Yeah,
But
those are all my types. Yeah.
but I think you're right about Star Wars. Even as a kid, I really loved Star Wars, and I'm obviously was obsessed with Princess Leia. There's something
Mhm.
very gay about her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What is it? She's sort of masculine, so maybe that's it.
That is true. Yeah, she's giving some representation for
Mhm,
like mask women, but I
mhm.
think also like she's drag. Like she's the wigs
Yeah,
alone
yeah, absolutely.
are.
Drag like the Boba Fett, not the Boba Fett, the what's it, Jabba the Hutt look when she's captured by Jabba the Hutt with the like the I mean, what do we even call it? Just two piece?
That's what it was on the costume sheet, and this is your two piece.
She rocked it.
And so funny because so many straight men have that as like a sexual fantasy, as like the sexiest thing they've
Yes.
ever seen. And I just remember being like, I want to wear that so
Work,
bad.
honey. Yeah, absolutely.
Work, work, honey. And then, yeah, she's like such an ass kicker because then she takes the chain that's she's attacked you and she like strangles Jaffa the Hutt to death.
I
I'm
know.
pretty
No
sure.
spoilers for anyone out there,
Oh,
but
in case in the last 40 years you haven't seen Return of the
get
Jedi.
on it.
Get your shit together. If there was an action movie starring three of the Drag Race queens, what three would you want it to be?
I mean, obviously Shangela.
Yeah,
She's the
100%.
most resilient.
It'll take place in Puerto Vallarta if it stars
Yes.
Shangela.
I don't know who else. Maybe Raven, I feel. I don't know, maybe it's just because Jujubee and
Ooh,
Raven like had to lip sync during that good versus evil moment, remember on All Stars 1?
so good.
And they
So
sang
good.
one of my favorite songs of all time, which is Dancing
Dancing
on
on
My
My
Own.
Own.
Ooh,
Th- That song, it really gives it to me every single time. That's one of the
fun
songs
fact,
it'll never get old.
no, never. And yeah, gay Fantasia for sure. But in college, I like learned the choreo from that music video to teach to a friend of mine when we did like this whole like I think it actually was a drag performance, but she did a performance of Robin. No, it was just called Under the Covers. So people did like live performances of famous pop songs, and she did the whole outfit with like the fuzzy top and the leggings and the massive platform shoes. And I learned the whole choreo and taught it to her. I don't know remember it, but
Wait, that is such a gag because that music video is one of the best of all time. That's the one in the
mm.
warehouse, right?
Yeah, and it's one shot. It's just
One
continuous.
shot, one shot of adrenaline, adrenaline. That is everything. And she's like, this is not shade, but like Robin is maybe not the greatest like dancer in the world, but
Mm-hmm.
she is serving it to you. So you feel like I felt very seen watching that. I was like, that's me in a club.
Yes. Oh, 100%. Also, like what I tell my student, like when been doing a lot of coaching on Zoom for the kids because of the Mean Girls fandom, which I'm very grateful for. But the one thing I always say is they're like, oh, I'm not a good dancer, I'm not a great singer, but I love what I do. And it's like, if you can act the shit out of something you do, like you're going to sell it no matter what. Like, and that's what Robin's doing. Yeah, she's not the best dancer, but she's committed and she's in it and she's like emoting. It's like Sasha Velour her best it's like the best lip sync of all time because she's acting because she's connected because there's something happening behind her eyes. Otherwise it's like dead eyes, who cares? But if you're feeling it, like I'm sold.
Could I agree with you anymore? No, I could absolutely could not. And I really am loving the idea of you telling 13-year-olds who are like, I'm trying to get into a college theater program one day. You being like, well, watch Sasha Velour.
Tim, I do that. I literally told this like 14-year-old girl once, I was like, do you watch Drag Race? And she was like, no. And so I was like, okay, well, watch this lip sync. I'm not kidding, because like Sasha Velour doesn't do like death drops and splits, but it is the best lip sync of all time. Not only because of the roses, but because she acts the shit out of it.
That is absolutely 100% true. And I'm not kidding. I was teaching kids before the pandemic as well and would say the same things. I'd be
Yeah.
like, especially in like when I was talking to them about comedy, I'd be like, sometimes they would say I'm not funny. And I'd be like, when I watch this show, RuPaul's Drag Race, it is all the queens that do the best aren't necessarily the funniest people or the best written comedians
Yes.
or the most or the best at fashion or whatever. It's about believing that you are the one, that you have
Mm-hmm.
it in you.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you say a joke, you can't back off of it. If a
Mm-mm.
joke is written in the script, you have to commit to it with confidence is the
Yeah.
whole key.
Yeah. And also the authentic queens are the ones we like the most too. You know,
Yes.
like if they're themselves, even if they mess up, you're like, I'm rooting for you, babe. Like Adore Delano, like Katya, like those people were like authentically themselves. And then you unfortunately have like the Laganjas who on their season, it was just like we never saw her. So that was her downfall. But it all ties into acting and musical theater, and that's
It
why it's
really
so
does.
good.
It's just it's I mean it's a show about how to be yourself and then take those qualities of yourself and be your absolute best
Mhm.
of you. Like
It's hard. It's
like
hard to do though, I think. It's really challenging to like confidently like show yourself. Like all the ugly, gross stuff that isn't even attractive, you think. But yeah, it's true.
and it's especially hard when people are critiquing the work that you're putting out there
Mhm.
and you're having to take and apply those notes in the moment when you're I mean, the whole thing about self-confidence and self-love is like don't compare yourself to other people, but it's
Mhm.
so hard not to compare yourself when you're in a competition and Simone is winning most of the challenges and you keep ending up in the bottom. Of
Mhm.
course, like I always felt like it sometimes it's annoying watching that narrative on the show because you're like, well, come on, like you knew you were coming here, get it together. But the other day I was who is that Simone on your show?
I mean, literally, like What a queen. But no, finish your thought.
But that's another great example of, is she the best dancer or singer? No, but when she's feeling herself, you can't beat her.
It's
You
everything. Yeah.
you can't beat her. It's behind the eyes thing.
Hmm.
Um, I was playing tennis the other day with my college friend. It's just like something we've started picking up
Wait,
in
sorry,
pandemic.
pause. That is hilarical. I was playing tennis with a college friend. You 80-year-old man. I love it.
Gaga Tandra. Did you say hilarical?
Yes.
I know. I haven't played tennis in like 15 years and neither has she. And so we were like, what do we do to fill this time? And we were like, should we try this again? And Gray, it's been changing my life. You know that when you just find something and you're like, this isn't goal oriented, this isn't, it's just fun. That's what we've been doing. But she
I'm
was,
jealous.
it's really, really fun. She was kicking my ever loving ass.
Hmm.
And I started feeling really bad about myself. And I remember just thinking, like, I want to stop doing this. This doesn't feel good. And
Hmm.
then I was like, wait, this is how the queens feel like when they've been in the bottom like a third time in a row. You have to just tell yourself, no, what happened in the point before this, what happened in yesterday's challenge does not matter. I am
It
here to
doesn't
slay
define you.
champion.
Yeah. I remember,
Mhm.
so when we started Mean Girls, I was so nervous about playing Damien because it is such an iconic movie, role, everything, right? And everyone, our generation, like knew it like the back of our hand. And I made a choice just to make Damien like just unapologetically himself, just super authentic and not a stereotype, just comfortable in his own skin, right? Like that's what I am at my best, like when I'm not judging myself, when I'm not watching myself, when I'm not in my head. And so for the first, like, however many months of the show that we had been performing, I was just like confident. I didn't care about anything. I was having fun and I was getting good feedback. And then I remember like watching myself do one of our performances or something like we had recorded, or it might have even been the Tony performance, which was terrifying. I remember thinking like, oh my God, is that what I look like doing the show? Like, is that what I look like on stage? Is that how I dance and move and whatever? And it put me so far in my head because I immediately was judging it versus just existing and doing it, right? And so the weird thing about not like just getting out of your head is it's so challenging when you do either compare yourself to someone else, like you're in a competition, or you do have to just watch yourself and critique yourself. But we're all our worst critics, right? But I remember that was so interesting to me because like before I even thought about what I was doing, I was having so much fun and giving some of the best performances. You know what I mean?
That's so fascinating and
Yeah.
such a key to life, I think, is like I really, really, really struggle with that too, of just being in the moment and not thinking, uh, not watching myself from the outside.
Yeah.
Cause
Yeah.
that, yeah.
That's why self tapes I find are really challenging too, because I want it to be great.
Bleh.
I want to look at it and I want to get it right and then send it on. So I'm learning to just be like, I felt good about it. No matter what it looks like, I'm sending it through. So yeah.
Yeah. I love that you said that. And I love what I love so much about Mean Girls, the musical. I cannot believe that she rewrote so much of it to have all new punchlines. I thought that was so fucking cool,
Yeah.
especially because we often see movies turned into musicals in the past 10 or more years, I would say. It's been a very
Yeah.
common thing. And I'm a diehard for Legally Blonde the musical. I love, love, love it.
Me too.
But I remember being 19 and watching it and being like, oh, this is the exact same script as what Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Coolidge were doing. And I just loved that Mean Girls musical was like, okay, this is all the iconic stuff that you love. And then also here's so much surprise humor that was like updated for today's times.
Yeah. I mean, she's a genius, right? Like nobody really writes comedy like Tina, and watching her do it was unbelievable. And what we loved about the whole process is she wasn't precious with the movie script, like at all. Also, it was a long time ago and they were updating the show for 2019, 2018 when we opened, I guess, but for present day. And so And also, she is a genius at writing for people once she gets to know them. I mean, look at Titus as Titus, or, Ellie. Like, those
Yeah.
people are a lot like those characters. Obviously, it's an exaggeration, but as she got to know, like, me as a person, she would start writing things, I think, that were just, she's like, oh, the Gray would be able to say this. Like, and I'm nothing like Daniel Franzese, who I love and have met many times, but like, if I were to do that same performance word for word, it wouldn't have tracked as well, right? And it's the same for all of those characters, like Taylor's Regina versus Rachel McAdams, or any of it. And so, like, it was really cool to watch her work that way. And she would write new jokes on the spot and come up to me with like 3 or 4 options for this one tiny little line and be like, which do you want to do right now? And let's try one and think. It's like they were all equally as funny. Um, but she was just like, she was such a collaborator, and I thought that was so cool. And also, like, she just wasn't precious with any of it. She was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's break it apart and put it back together. It was really cool.
That's fucking rad. I saw her Oprah interview where Oprah was like, what do you want to do with your life? And I think, like, what do you want to do next? And she said something like, I don't know how to say this other than I really accomplished all the goals that I had for myself. So I feel good. Like whatever happens is gonna happen. And that sounds like that's what the attitude is.
Yeah.
Attitude is that we all hopefully can adapt of like,
Mhm.
yeah, don't be precious with your stuff. Just have fun. Have
Mhm.
fun with it, and it felt like there
Yeah.
was so much fun put into that show.
Oh my god, it was so fun. I mean, it was so many firsts for me, and it was like the first time I originated a role and was on a cast album, and the whole Tony experience and all of that was just amazing. And I'll probably hear about Mean Girls until the day I die, which I'm cool with. But it's like, yeah, it was one of those things, and yeah, it was. I thought it was something that that could have maybe gone badly, right? I mean, in so many, like, we often see the movie turned into the musical, but it did feel original, and it felt like the cast was just really strong, and so that's what carried us through the whole process, and it was a really just good company of people, which obviously is so important.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have and yeah, I think I mean, as someone who's, like, within your was living in New York and was within your peer group of those people, I think that was really exciting for all of us when the cast announcement came out because it was like, "Oh, hell yeah, all these people that we've seen killing it either off Broadway or in, a Broadway show for however many months," but it was like, seeing Barrett was like, "Oh, fuck yeah." Like, I saw Barrett
Yeah.
twice in Heathers and was like, "Okay, this is the most talented person who's ever
Yeah, I mean,
lived."
she's so
Like,
perfect.
yeah.
We
So that
auditioned
was
together when we went in for our, like, final callback. We had rehearsed together because we knew that we were both going in for it, and I knew her not super well, and we were, like, literally rehearsing for the show, for the audition together. And then we went in, and they were pairing us up with, like, other people here and there, but it just felt like the right combo. And when we went in together, we, like, went in holding hands, which was a strategic move. But it worked. It worked. We're both, like, tall weirdos, so it really worked. Yeah.
That's so smart. You've
Yeah.
worked with 2 of, like, I mean, I think at least in my opinion, like, the best comedy writers that we have today, not 2, 3, Matt and Trey.
Yeah.
And Tina, have you always been did you know since you were, like, a little gay that you were funny?
No. No, 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 and that's I was really shy as a really tiny gay. Um, I'm at my core, I am like a people pleaser. I'm like a Cancer through and through. Like, I am a homebody, like, emotional, empathetic human being. And so, like, I've never moved from a place of confidence, and I feel like so much comedy has to come from that. But I honestly learned how to be funny by watching 30 Rock, which is why it tracks so much that I got to work with her, and also why I felt so comfortable around her. I really love funny women, and I think I started being funny toward in, like, high school or something. And I think for a lot of gay people it is a coping mechanism, because I was like the asexual one who, like, had a few girlfriends in middle school, but, like, didn't date anyone in high school. You know what I mean? So I was just like the funny Damien friend for a lot of people. Um, And my comedy was never like calculated. It sort of was just off the cuff. I often, I mean, we're talking about Drag Race nonstop, but I think about that challenge, like the comedy challenge that they, when they have to do stand up or whatever, like I would totally bomb at that. Like I admire you so much for doing that, because that is really difficult, standing up and planning out jokes and punchlines. Like, give me a script, I know how to play it, I understand the rhythm of that, I understand the rhythm of an audience, I know how a line should sound to be funnier. But when it comes to me and my own sense of humor, it's very off the cuff, it's very in the moment. I was joking with my roommate because one time I had to be on vocal rest for a bit because I was having vocal issues, because doing 8 shows a week is like crazy and a marathon. And I was always texting and writing things down because I couldn't speak. And I was trying to make jokes to him in a moment. And I was like, so much of my comedy lies in the delivery because like none of it was landing or working. And so it is funny to think, because everyone's like, oh, you're so funny. And when I like did a few comedy like master classes or workshops with some college students, and it was really hard to put it into words what makes something funny. It's all based on instinct, and it all comes from a really honest place, and it all should come from like a really like hollow, honest, real place. Like I respond to people who are like authentic and tell me like the nitty gritty. Like I don't want any like, I think it's from years of being patronized because I'm such a pushover, but I love when people are just like kind of go for the jugular. And so I try to do that in a way, and I can do that because I'm unassuming and polite for the most part. But all of that mixed together, I think, makes something funny because it is, I mean, it's what you think of as relatable. It's like relatable humor, right? And that's what we're all like, I eye roll at that when someone's like, you ever been here and done this? But like, it's true. I mean, people want to watch something that, oh my God, I thought that, but I've never put it to words before. Or like, oh my God, I've had that same physical reaction to something before, you know?
Yeah, I really am very deeply interested in what you said about being a pushover because that just really resonated with me. I think I think that is very much the case for a lot of uh gay people, especially, ones that grew up. I think we can only speak to our experience, but little gay boys who were closeted and people pleasing to as a survival mechanism,
Yeah.
because for me, it could go one of two ways. And that is 90% of the time, I am the nicest person you'll ever meet. And I will make sure that you like me so that I can survive in this world by complimenting or agreeing with what you said. And then 10% of the time, I this is a negative thing to say about myself, but let's get very vulnerable. I've described myself as the apocalypse, where it's like, where it's like if I feel threatened, I have that gay thing in me. My friend Ty Blue says it lives in your jugular, and it's like when you feel like someone is going to slit your throat with a verbal horrible thing, I just cut right to their jugular of like,
Hmm.
this is the thing I'm gonna say to take you out.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why I think comedy is so hard,
Hmm.
because sometimes that can be very funny. And when you're punching up on a bully, that can be really funny to everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's like, great. And sometimes that bully even respects you more for doing it, especially
Yeah.
when people like us who are like often a pushover. Um,
It is like an unhealthy balance, though. I know what you're talking about because it's like I went through this whole transition through college where I had to find my voice that was a little bit combative, and not even combative, just like standing up for myself in so many ways. Because I think a lot of us don't feel worthy of taking up space, and it's easier to be that smaller person. Like I remember it was like a broken record for me in college. I went to acting school, and I am 6'3" and I like built like a football player, but like, I'm a ballerina and like whatever, blah blah gay bullshit. But literally every time I would meet with my teachers in my conference or whatever at the end of the semester, they'd be like, take up space, own your height, fill the room, like be powerful. And they would always push me out of my comfort zone. Like I was playing like Sam Bick and Assassins, and I was like the Beetle Bamford. And I made up this clown that was like this bully from the Jersey Shore who like beat people up and stuff. And so like there's this weird thing about like, I was always like so frustrated with that. But then it really did help me tap into like that part of ourselves because we encompass all of those things, right? And I think for a lot of people who have to hide who they are, they don't really know how to blend those together into one cohesive person. And so that's why your like apocalypse comes out and whips people in the face and you're like, well shit, I mean, I thought those things but didn't mean just scream at you right now. And but humor comes from all of that. It does. And that's why gay people are mostly funny for the most part, unless they've had an amazing life and no one's ever told them otherwise.
Yeah, yeah. And it's, I think for me, and I'm still struggling with this, but working through it, it's about finding that balance of not being the apocalypse, but living at that. If I describe myself as like 90% of the time nice, 10% apocalypse, fill up that 90% of the time, not with nice, but with whatever you are, whoever you
Mhm.
are. Like, don't just be nice when someone is saying something you disagree with. Say what you're thinking, and
Yeah.
then you fill that up with more of yourself. And then I think that can come closer to the 100% of just being who you are. And then you're not the apocalypse. And then you can find a way to be that like cutting and funny person,
Hmm.
but do it like RuPaul says to do it with love in the room.
Hmm.
Like, take someone out at the knees in a way that is going to make them laugh too, you
Yeah,
know?
because
Like,
you also make fun of yourself. Right, right.
yeah, the example I think of is like my friend Lee and I were on Fire Island many years ago, and we were walking and we were really, really drunk. And he was like, he said, he said, "What's the Facebook status that got the most likes for you? I know that you know which one it was." And I go, "Okay." It was the announcement that I was doing 50 Shades the musical off Broadway. And I said this whole thing about like how I was kicked out of my senior showcase in college, and it really meant a lot to me that like I felt accepted in New York as a musical theater performer. And it was like a really magical thing for me. And that got the most likes. And he took a long pause and he goes, "You really made off Broadway sound important."
But,
It
like, you
literally took
died.
me out at the
Yeah,
knees. I
yeah.
fell I was like being so vulnerable. And I mean, the subtext for what he was saying was, "I just listened to what you said and you are
Mhm,
my sister. And like,
mhm.
this is how I'm going to respond to it." And it did not make me feel self-conscious or bad. It made me feel good because there was so much love between us. And
And that's
that's
what
the
I think a
thing.
lot of people don't understand because, like, my roommate and I have that exact relationship where we are the meanest people ever to each other, but, like, it is through a lens of love, and it is through, it is I don't know, I guess it's to not to keep you humble, but to remind you that, like, it's not nothing is as important as we think it is, you know what I mean? And also like my roommate and I like do this thing where we like have conscious hugs. Like we try to like have conscious hugs where we're like, especially during the pandemic because it was so difficult, but just to like to hold another person in that simple act of like, I love you, you love me, we're a happy family. And so I think that like it's a good combo and balance. That being said, like sometimes I do have to try to keep a lid on it though, because I'm like, it can bubble up, boil up, and then explode, you know?
Yeah, and it has to be. I think the key with that kind of thing, because I do that with my boyfriend all the time in our apartment as well, if it's just like, are there any little slutty little queefs in the living room? Oh, yes, I guess there's one right there." Whatever it is, the subtext of that is, "I love you, you're beautiful." Like, it's like that, it's like third level dialogue where you're like, you're not actually saying to Josh, like, "You look absolutely fucking stupid in those cargo shorts." Maybe you are, but it's really like, the subtext I feel like, or the underlying message is, I'm so glad we're this close, that
Mhm.
we can be this honest with each other, because I'm not that honest with everybody,
Yeah,
And I feel like that's RuPaul's point of there's always love in the room. And I think what makes this conversation really difficult is that many gay men don't think hard enough about this and then just say really mean things, thinking that they are being funny. They are
yeah,
being that 10% apocalypse. They're
mhm,
coming from the jugular for your jugular. And that's when it can be really like, ooh, it
yeah,
really those comments haunt me. They really do.
yeah, it doesn't suit everybody, yeah,
Yeah, unfortunately, comedy is hard. It's that, like, you have to figure out a lot of elements. You have to make sure you're punching across. It has to be honest and real. A lot of times, to be funny, it has to go right up to the line,
mhm,
but many times there's not love in the room, they cross the line, and it's not elevated enough to be funny. It's like something anyone could say, and then it's just hurtful. Do you have a train in your house?
I've never heard that sound before in my life, but it came from the streets of New York. So sorry. Um, yeah, I know. I agree with you. It is difficult. Also, there's like, I mean, this is like very deep, but there's a lot of like hate in the community between gay people, and I think that also just comes from seeing something in yourself back at you when someone else does something, and it comes from that place of shame and like gay shame for being like, God, stop like embarrassing us
Uh-huh.
being gay people. And it's just easier to like put people down and to judge people. And then especially in like if you're watching a competition, like right, like we're made to want to root for one person and hate another person. But yeah, that's also why I was nervous to do Damien too. I was like, "Oh my god, the gay people that come to see me be a gay person on stage, like they're gonna watch it like hawks." You know what I mean? And I was nervous about that, which shouldn't be the case. I should have been like, "Oh my god, I love when gays come and celebrate this." But of course, they came to see Regina George, and it was like the middle-aged moms who loved Damien. But it is interesting. It's kind of scary to be like vulnerably like a gay like I don't want to say icon because that's I mean Damien in some ways was and is, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. And I think it goes back to what you said earlier about like when I asked if you knew you were funny when you were a kid, you were like, I always loved watching funny women.
Mhm,
That is all that was presented for us. So I hope the kids that are, 15 and younger, or I don't know, it might take more generations after that, won't feel that as much. And maybe they can look at Damien as their icon and not just middle-aged women. But you're absolutely right. Like that's why we all love Drag Race, because we are able to see these often sometimes trans women, but often cis gay men
mhm,
as women. Like
mhm,
we're able to trick our brains into rooting for them, because the truth is that most gay men don't root for other gay men, and we're
mhm,
still like deeply working on that. And I think by you, an openly gay man, playing Damien is
mhm.
going to help change that landscape, and the visibility of
Yeah.
Billy Eichner and Bowen and like Matt Rogers and all these people who are making a name for themselves and being unapologetically gay
Mhm.
is going to really help that, I hope.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I totally get what you mean. The only times I was heckled on my stand-up tour were by gay men. I lived in fear of performing for straight people, and then like a nightmare I didn't even expect was presented to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
That's dark.
it's something about seeing ourselves. Anything you don't like in somebody is an insecurity you have about yourself. So it
Mhm.
makes perfect sense that gay men would have a hard time watching other gay men succeed, because they are were never given a model or template to see that ever. As I didn't know any gay people. Where are you from in the South?
Georgia, Macon, Georgia.
Oh, where is that?
You don't know? It is like in the very, very middle of the state. We call it the heart of Georgia. It's like an hour and a half below Atlanta. Um, and it's not like a very small town. It's a very like medium-sized. It's like the second largest city in Georgia, I think. But still close-minded enough, especially in the '90s, for me to feel like, oh, I'm not like the other people here, you know.
Mhm.
But I really, when I saw Damien in Mean Girls, was one of the first time I saw like a teenager out and confident and himself, you know, unapologetically himself. And so that's why it was so special and important for me to do the part. But that's what I want to do with my career. Like I want to do a lot of things, but I think if what I if there's something I could do that would make me feel the most like accomplished, it would be to play other like gay roles that aren't stereotypes, that are just like comfortable in their own skin, and not anything that is just like a checking a box or something, but to just be myself um, on many platforms so people can see themselves in that, because that's what exactly what I would have wanted and needed, you know.
Yeah, and isn't that special that we're to be more positive about this spin of this conversation, we're seeing that, we're getting that. I
Hmm.
mean, you and I were in college around the same time. You're a little younger than me, but when I was in college, it was like flat out a thing
Yeah.
not to be openly gay because there weren't gay roles. Like I present very effeminately now, very proudly, but I think because growing up in Ohio, I'm sure it was similar in Georgia, I learned how to present masculine
Hmm.
in many scenarios. And in acting class, it was like really lauded to be able to pass as straight. And so
Yeah.
I worked really hard at that, harder at that, honestly, than like learning to tap dance or sing or whatever. And I got really fucking good at it and then would get praised more for it. And by almost every single teacher. And
Mm.
and now because and I can't blame them. Like they were I was paying them to teach me how to get work and they were like, "Well, this is the way to get work." But now that's really changing. Like there are gay characters in so much media.
Oh my gosh. And if I've learned anything, it's like you should not try to be other people. That is what will get you work, right? Like the moment I walk into a room and I'm like, hey, this is me, this is who I am, that's when the things line up and they work. I mean, I was the only really out gay person in my musical theater class at Carnegie Mellon. And things have changed since graduation, but like at the time, it was just me. And so I was like feeling like super out of my element. And it was clear that this straight male energy was praised in a way, and and I knew that I was good at what I did, but it always felt like I had to work harder. And then I was the this is like a not so humble brag. I was the first person to book a job. Senior year, I got Book of Mormon, and I was playing like Elder McKinley in the Book of Mormon on the first national tour, like opposite Gavin Creel, you know. And it was like, oh wow! And it was like it was a closeted, but like a funny gay role in this really funny show that had just won all these Tonys. And so I was like being celebrated for all those things that I tried not to be. And then on the on the heels of that was Mean Girls, when I just basically walked in the room and was just trying to just be authentically gray, and that's what Damien became. So it's true that it's a shame that you had to do that, and it's a shame that people think you have to do X, Y, and Z to be that type of successful person working. But you're right, I think it's changing, and it is almost like it's a shame for people who aren't more I guess flamboyant or themselves, who have dumbed themselves down to be a cookie cutter. It's harder to get work. I mean, it is celebrated to be unique and strange and like and different, and like to own those things. Like I'm 6'3", like, and I don't fit into like any sample size things. I used to stress out about going into fittings and stuff because it was so hard for me to find clothes, because I am like, I literally have big bones. But now to go in and confidently be like, no, I know that these clothes are made. Please find those for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see
I
this ghost
I
behind
I
me?
know. I was like, is that Josh? Josh could come in if he wants.
No, let me close the window. It's because there's like an air current. Hold on.
Okay, okay.
It's the wind.
It's the wind. I think that that's really true. And I think a hard thing about that to remember for people is it doesn't always pay off right away. Like, but trust us, it is the way to go. Cause like whenever I authentically be myself in that way or like present really femme or whatever, and it doesn't, let's say I make a video like that and it doesn't go viral, or I audition for a role and I don't get it. My first thought is immediately, well, I was too gay. I was too
Hmm.
gay because of like the what we were told, because of the trauma. But like what you have to tell yourself is like, no, you did the right thing and you have to just keep doing the right thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And um yeah, be yourself. The one time I auditioned for a role for a show, a comedy off-Broadway show about models, and they asked us to improvise a runway walk. So I improvised a runway walk and then I looked over my shoulder. I could feel it bubbling up in my stomach, and I looked the casting director right in the eye and I farted.
No.
And great, I didn't get it. I didn't get the part.
Is that
But
a real story?
it's a true story, a real and true story.
Oh my God, Tim, I love it.
But I was being my authentic self.
I mean, there's
So
nothing more authentic than flatulence.
the gas.
Yeah.
I knew the director. She was my college professor. So I was like, I felt comfortable enough to do it. And to this day, she's like, "I cannot believe you did that in my audition room. That was so disrespectful." And to this day, I'm like, "I cannot believe you didn't cast me. That
I was
was."
about to say, I'm shocked you didn't get a part. Like, what a ballsy move. And also, I would, if I were behind the table, I would have died laughing, and I would not have forgotten you.
Well, that's the thing. You can't be funny for somebody else. I thought that was funny. So I was like, "I'm going to do this."
That's iconic. That is such a good story. That is so good.
It was pretty good. What were your slumber parties like growing up?
Back on topic. I love it.
Smooth transition.
So very smooth. I it's funny because I was thinking about it before came on, obviously, and I had like two very different uh groups of friends, I guess you could say, and this ties into everything we've been talking about, because I had one friend who was like super gay like me. We were friends from the time we were, oh gosh, like I don't know, 10, maybe even younger than that, and we were both clearly different, and we played with Barbies, and we loved dolls, and we loved theater. We met at the community theater, we did ballet, you know what I mean? And so that was my person, and before I even knew what it was to be gay, I knew that he was like me, and so I had that person. And our slumber parties were like making up plays, doing like the American Girl doll plays that would come with the
Oh,
doll. Like, you know what I mean?
Samantha
Like,
and Molly go to the mall. Yeah.
yes, we made, oh my God. And I just remembered we would make these like jean bags. Like, I feel like it was in like an American Girl magazine or some sort of like, gay magazine. And it was like, take your old pair of jeans and here's how to turn them into a bag. And we would like bedazzle them. And like, it was the most 90s amazing thing ever. And we would perform
Design
like,
challenge.
it was truly the design. And that's why I'm obsessed with design challenges. Um, and then on the opposite like side of the spectrum, I had this like straight friend who was more friends with my older brother, who's 2 years older. But the three of us would always hang out because he was actually my age when we went to school together. And we were friends. We were really good friends. But when I was around him, I was the opposite, right? Like I was like trying to be like masculine, and I loved talking about like girls because I wanted him to talk about it, because that excited me when I heard him going off on something like that, right? And it was like so many layers of fucked upness. But like truly, I had, it was like this dual life, and I remember sleeping over at his house was exciting for me for those reasons. And then the comfort of sleeping over with my friend, my gay friend, was was great in other ways, and it was never sexually driven for some reason. I guess we were really young, but I remember just being excited about like being with that friend who, like, heaven forbid, I don't think he follows my career, even would watch this, but like if he's watching, like, LOL, hi, I was in love with you. But you know what I mean. Weird, weird.
That's amazing. I mean, it's amazing that you had a person like that. I and a credit to your young self that you embraced it and you said, "I'm gonna go do this." I only did that with girls. I would like play Barbies with girls, but I was deeply afraid of the other kids. I knew I was gay from age 4. Like I knew a lot of people don't find out till way later. I was like, I remember like you know, being at the beach and like seeing men shirtless and being like, well, this is heaven to me. I
Yeah, same,
I
same.
maybe didn't know the word gay, but I was like,
Right.
I'm not looking at that lady with the huge torpedoes. I'm looking at that gentleman with the hairy chest.
Yeah,
And
same. Yeah.
so I was afraid of the openly queer, not openly queer, but like the femme seeming other boys, because I didn't want to be seen with them. I didn't want people to find that out. So it's cool that you were like, even in private, that you let yourself have
Well,
fun and
here's
play with
here's the
Barbies.
other layer of that, because like in private, right? Like I had that boy and we were like best friends, and it was so like amazing because I found someone like me. But the dark side of that is this person was actually really terrible to me in public. And like we're talking about gays being mean to gays. Like it started when I was in second grade with this guy, and he would like in groups of people was jealous of me, and for many other reasons because of dance and theater. And I remember we were best friends and he was so good to me, and then when we were in public it was like biting and cruel and manipulative. And I remember one time like he hid some sort of like theater thing from me when that got put on my desk because he wanted to do it and not me. And then like he told everyone I did ballet and was gay. Like he was like like cruel. And so like it is funny that it was an amazing thing. I was so grateful to find, but in the same breath, it was also he was probably my biggest bully, which is really sad. Um, but I don't, you know, I was grateful for him because I felt like had an other. I felt like I saw myself in somebody. But it was the first taste to me of like, well, don't trust those people, you know?
Mm,
Which is like heartbreaking now that I'm like saying it out loud. But you know what I mean? It's strange. It's strange how we're afraid of ourselves. And hopefully it's getting better. I mean, with this generation below us, I mean like, you know, I think they're more confident and more themselves than ever before because of the internet. And thank God I did not have YouTube. I mean, I was gonna bring this up later when I talk about my YouTube video, but
please.
do you want me to talk about it right now?
Yes. What YouTube
Okay.
video would you show me at a slumber party?
Okay, because wait, hold on, I have to look it up. Okay, do you remember I was looking through my YouTube and like all of my favorites from like years ago that whenever like YouTube started, and
Oh,
there's this
yes.
video of this little boy who I want to say is maybe 10 years younger than we are. And so like he was at that age.
Before you say anything, can I guess?
Oh, please. I
Is
don't
it
forgot his name.
I don't know his name either, but is it the little boy doing Legally Blonde? Is that what you're gonna say?
Yes.
I knew you were gonna
Okay,
say
but like
that.
I have to look up his name because literally I was watching the video yesterday. I was like, this is what I have to talk about with Tim. It's not the Legally Blonde video. It is him doing Home from Beauty and the Beast, which is even more iconic. Tim, sorry, I'm literally googling it right now
Please Google it.
because he because he acts the shit out of it. He actually sounds amazing, and the whole time I was thinking, thank the Lord I did not have access to YouTube because who knows what would be on the internet. Hold on. What?
Truly. I was used to do Broadway workshop. I would like facilitate the question and answers for teenagers, and then we'd
Yeah.
have like, you know, a Gray Henson or someone who's working on Broadway come in and teach them a master class. I was doing that one day. I think I was with my good Judy Trey Gerald, and he taps me on the shoulder and he was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, do you know who that teenager is? And it was this boy.
Wait, the one we're
And we
talking about?
Yes, and he was taking like a master class from like a Broadway person. He must have been like 17 or 18, I guess, at the time.
Okay, yeah, because I
And
looked him up
we
on
were like,
Instagram and he exists. Here it is, I found it. Okay,
oh
his
my
name
god.
is Joshua. Oh, sorry, it's loading. His name is Jeffrey Sewell, Sewell, and it's him singing Home from Disney's Beauty and the Beast. And like this little boy brings me so much joy because like that is exactly who I was when I was alone in my house listening to Broadway albums and Disney albums. And literally he's just like, and I'm so glad it wasn't taken down. I'm so glad this person who is now probably an adult is like still like, yep, I was
Yep.
great. And he
I
was
stand by
good.
that. And he was. What was before you play the video, what was your go-to singing around the house song when you were a queer one, Julie Jordan, as a
I
young child?
I loved like C'est La Vie by
I did not expect you to say that.
by
Bewitched.
Bewitched. I remember loving that. Also, I randomly like because they would play the song Teen Witch a lot on Disney Channel, like as a repeat. And I remember just loving the music to Teen Witch. Like, what was the one like? I wanna be the most popular girl. Do you know that song? You know that movie, right?
I don't know. I don't know Teen Witch. That's a blind
Him.
spot in my culture. I
You are
know.
gonna. You've never heard of Top That? They do this rap in the middle of it.
Oh,
Okay, I love that
I've seen
bit.
that video on the internet. I've seen that
You
video
need
on
to
the
watch
internet.
the entire film.
It's
I like
insane.
had I loved random things like that, but then I was obsessed with like old musicals. Like I loved Meet Me in St. Louis. Like I would sing all of the songs. Like Boy Next Door is like my top. And then literally the Bye Bye Birdie telephone hour we would recreate. Like Hi Marsha. I mean, just a really eclectic combo. And then I had this random Madonna album, but I didn't like really know that she existed before the 90s when I was young. So like I just had her album that was like the country inspired one. I forget what it was called.
Please don't stare.
Yes.
Um, what it feels like for a girl. What it
Yes,
feels
that.
like.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
also all of the like like I randomly loved like a Jewel. My brother really liked
I
Jewel.
loved Jewel.
Yeah,
Loved Jewel.
yeah, really eclectic. But I would sing all of those around the house.
My go-to, like when nobody was home and I was like, I'm going to start at the top of the stairs as if I'm like starting this scene from the top of the stairs and then descend the stairs singing it and really acting honey was Little Girls from Annie. I wanted to be Miss Hannigan so fucking bad.
Well, we can still make that happen for you.
Can you imagine? That's my dream. That is like my true dream to
That's
play Miss
amazing.
Hannigan.
No, I can totally imagine you doing that.
I
Hmm.
just listened to Michael Riedel's book about theater in the 90s. Highly recommend.
Oh, what's it called? Theater in the 90s?
No, it's called, oh crap. I'll have to look it up and I'll send it to you. But it's his most recent one and dives deep into the Disney like takeover of Broadway, starting with Beauty and the Beast and then leading into Lion King, and it's really really fascinating. Like
Ooh, cool. Love.
basically Beauty and the Beast was sort of tisked away by the theater elite as like a theme park show, and
Mm,
so they really wanted to have like a hard punch with the Lion King of making it artistic and sell well. And then obviously,
nailed it.
I don't know if you guys know, but the Lion King was successful.
I don't know
It
if you know.
did
You know,
it
I've
did
never
pretty
seen
fine.
it. I literally have never seen it on Broadway. I know. I know. I know.
Gray. You really
It's
gotta
one.
go.
I know. Well, I left Mean Girls 2 days before the world shut down, and I was planning on seeing theater, and that was definitely on the list.
Oh my God. It's one of those shows where you're like, it doesn't matter how hyped it's been. When that opening number happens and they come down, I'm going to literally just direct quote Rosie O'Donnell. When they come down the aisles and you just see them dressed in these incredible costumes. And like, the thing is, it's spectacle, but it is theater artistry spectacle. Like they talk
Yeah,
about in the book, instead of having like big projections of the sun, it's like a beaded African piece of art that they lift off the ground. It's drag. Like they're taking something small and making it look huge. And when that comes up off the ground, it's truly like it's mesmerizing. It's
wow,
so good.
chills. I need to see. I know.
Okay, now's the time of the podcast we like to call, wait, let's have fun. And in this
Ooh,
scenario, we play slumber party games. Are you ready for your first slumber party game?
please, yes.
I have a would you rather for you. Would you
Okay.
rather be forced to dance every time you hear music or be forced to sing to any song you've heard?
Dance.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Do you want me to unpack it or just give you one, an
I want you
answer?
to unpack it. I want you to unpack it. I was thinking about what I would say, but I want you to unpack it.
I I don't know, dancing to me just feels more like a celebration, just for me. I think it's different for all people. I don't know why I associate singing sometimes with stress.
Mhm.
Um, but dancing, I think, is just like, I don't know, when you like move your body. Like I started ballet when I was 3 years old. So for me, like I'm very physical when I talk and everything like that. And it's like I feel like it's more connected to your like soul, I guess, movement. So that's why I
Mm.
said dance.
Do you have any like trauma around dance? My gay boyfriend is also a ballet dancer, and so I've been talking to his like ballet dancer friends as well. And some of the stories they tell me, I'm like, wow, this was a like the idea of perfectionism comes up a lot. Did you have that experience,
Hmm.
or was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm not as good as I think your boyfriend is, and I just really switched my, like, I don't want to say career because I was like doing it and making Georgia for fun, but I I went to NCSA one summer, which is now UNCSA, I think, in North Carolina, for a ballet intensive when I was a sophomore in high school. And that's around the time I was doing a lot of theater, but I had done ballet consistently since I was like 3 or 4 years old, right? And so I thought I was going to be a male dancer. Like I competed in these like not the competition like Abby Lee Miller competitions, like these like very strict ballet competitions. And like we came to New
Oh.
York and competed, and I was really good before I hit puberty because I was like tiny and twinky and shy and like cared so much. And then I started singing more and I started doing more theater because I'd always done that along with dance, but dance was my focus. And I remember being in high school and going to NCSA that summer and thinking like the teachers were like, if you really want to do this, you have to stay on and come into the high school here and then go into the, and I remember just being so jealous of the theater kids that summer. And that's when I decided to, no, I'm going to do theater, I think, and just try to focus on acting more. It, I wasn't like seriously involved in like the high intensity dance world because it was just a small studio in Macon. And I remember getting glimpses of it though, which I think you're talking about this trauma of like perfection. And there's this rigid, sort of stiff idea of being right and correct. And I think what's so cool about acting and not really singing but acting is that you lean towards imperfection, and that is what is
Mm.
cool about it, right? And it's
Ooh.
embraced in a way that's like, oh my god, I don't know what's going to happen, and I love like following that. And it's more about instinct, but the beauty of dance and ballet and lines and movement I was always drawn to and still am. It's kind of like my trick that I pull out of my back pocket because people see me on the street and wouldn't think I'd be a dancer, and then I can dance and move and stuff. But yeah, it is a very different world, and I hate that like there is a lot of trauma around that. But like dance gave us the film Center Stage, which is probably what I would force people to watch at the slumber party. But you know what I mean? Like I
Dance
never got so involved that I was really ever harmed by that trauma, but I definitely was around it.
and dance gave us the film Center Stage, but dance did not give us the film Save the Last Dance. Comedy did, and I'm grateful for that. I'm
Yeah,
grateful
we
for
all
that
are.
feature film and
Yeah.
Miss Julia Stiles.
I mean, the dance on the stage is iconic, right? Like,
And that is one of the greatest things in the history of the world. Off the record, welcome to Juilliard is such a beautiful line to say to someone who's
iconic,
just finished an audition. But yeah, I'm
iconic.
very interested in that because I am the polar opposite of a perfectionist to a fault, where I'm
Mhm.
like, but that's so interesting what you said about acting is really about, yeah, not like jumping and not knowing and not there is no like
Mhm.
right way to do it, whereas with ballet it
Right.
seems like it's like, okay, this is the line, this is how it goes, do it like that.
That yeah, that being said, I think really fantastic ballet dancers do that work and then throw it away and then are connected and emotionally there and available, right? And like that's what I'm sounding like a broken record when I say this to like students who I coach. And this is one of the most valuable things I learned when I went to college is that a good performance, I think, is about having freedom within a framework. And so the
Mm.
framework is rehearsing and learning your lines and knowing where you are and who you're talking to and doing all the work around it and then letting it go and just having fun and playing and being free within those guidelines. And so I think ballet, they're a little bit stricter. Those guidelines are a little more like rigid. Um, but I still think the best ballet dancers are move from a emotional place of uncertainty, you know?
Yeah, I have another would you rather for you.
Can't
Would
wait.
you rather date a girl with big boobs or a girl with a big butt?
I like I don't get boobs. Like I do not understand why people would be attracted to them. That being said, I respect them and I think they can be beautiful, but I would never be like, "Oh my god, those tits." So I would say butt. And also like I have a big butt, and so I respect people who like have dealt with that, because it sometimes can be a burden more than it is a blessing. Like,
I
for
would
instance, when I have gotten MRIs for my terrible knees I have from, like, years of dancing, like, I can't get comfortable in the MRI because my butt, like, wants to move and shift because it's so uncomfortable to, like, lay there that I, like, wish I had a smaller butt when I get MRIs done.
Oh my god. Okay, what movie would you pop in if we were at a slumber party? Is it center stage?
It was center stage, that was I didn't think of that. I have a couple, like, fried green tomatoes is,
I've
like,
never
a
seen
go
that.
oh my god, Tim,
I
it's
know.
so good. It's so good and kind of gay. So I think the book is gayer than the movie, but still, it's worth watching. That and Now and Then. Have you seen Now and Then?
I love that movie. Christina
Yeah, thank you for the, like,
Ricci.
the silence. Yeah, I love that line
7
reading. I
pauses.
agree with you.
Love that line. Title of Ep, I love that line reading. It's so I mean, Rosie is incredible. That movie is that was like, "Oh, this is the life I wanna be living." Like, girl
Yeah.
power,
I
like,
know.
a girl sisterhood forever.
All
Oh,
the feels from that movie for sure.
that is such a great I have an older sister, so that was, like, a movie where she would watch it with her friends, and I would be like, "I want to be in this friend group so bad and, like,
Mhm.
have this have this thing with each other." Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Michael. He said screen share question mark. Michael, I'm sorry you did not get to enjoy that a YouTube video with us, but I
Oh,
will show you
no.
after
Yeah,
this.
I'm so not tech savvy. Oof.
Um no, neither are we. Okay, my last question for you is a Mary fuck kill.
Can't wait.
A special one just for you, Gray. Mary fuck kill drag race runner ups.
Okay.
Katya, Jujubee, and Raven.
Okay, I think fuck Raven. I'm very attracted to Raven
Me
as
too.
a man and a woman.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I would say, uh, this is really hard. I would probably marry Jujubee because I love her sense of humor, and in by killing Katya, I think it would be a fun celebration because it would be something maybe she, I don't know, would
Loves.
like love, right? So
Yeah.
like I think that's my answer.
She would probably ask that of you. She'd be like,
Right,
"Yeah,
right.
that
Let's do
would
it.
be
How do you want to do
sexy
it?
to
How
me."
do you want to do
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
And then she would come back from the dead and then we'd have her forever as a ghost.
A ghost Katya would actually be iconic. So yeah,
That would be really good. Okay, that's all the time that we have for today, but thank you so much for joining me. This was so fun.
it was so fun.
Is there anything where can the people follow you on the socials?
At Gray Henson. I have a Twitter, but I don't tweet. I'm not active on it. So I do an Instagram every now and then if I'm feeling the mood.
Feel if I'm feeling frisky.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, listeners, for joining Gray and I, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.